Hello, welcome to Free Will, Science, and Religion. I'm Chandler Klebs, and today I'm here with David Joseph and Jamie Soden, and we have some interesting things related to animals to talk about today. Now, first of all, we know that humans are animals, but people often think of humans as a separate category from other animals, and people believe that. So, okay, this is really strange because even people like Daniel Dennett, they say that humans have a free will, but that other animals don't. And I'm trying to figure out how in the world anyone can believe that. Because, first of all, nobody could have a free will anyway, because, everything is biology and environment. Everything that you do, there's got to be some prior cause for it. It's not like we self cause our thoughts, beliefs, or desires. So it's nuts to believe in free will anyway, but guys, what do you think people mean that humans have a free will, but other types of animals don't?
The definition of free will is to make a choice independent of prior cause or causal history or whatever, which makes absolutely no sense and is completely unscientific. Everything in nature, as we know it scientifically, is cause and effect. That's why when we do research, we learn things.
Yeah. So basically, the idea of of people making a choice that's totally up to them and has nothing to do with prior causes. And here's the deal: whatever happened in the past, whether it's causal or totally random, acausal, it's still not up to you. So humans can't have a free will, but so how could other animals couldn't either? But what's so mysterious is that what I find, and this is just my guess, because I'm a little bit baffled as to how people say that humans have a free will and other animals don't. But here's my guess. Because people say that humans have a spirit or a soul, whereas animals only have their biology and environment. And well, that gets into a whole other debate about whether there's a soul or whatever that is separate from your biology, which is of course doesn't help free will at all anyway, because there would have to be a cause for that, and you don't choose what soul you get,
And also, to say that only humans have a soul is an assumption, isn't it? I mean, how can only humans have a soul, but animals not? Because animals, they still experience emotions, pain, and all this and the other. You know,
Yeah, and here's the deal: what do people think a soul is? Like, what do you guys think people mean by a soul?
to the spiritual believers, they say it's the part of a person that lives on after death, I suppose.
That seems to be what they typically say. And here's the deal: like, if they say that humans have a soul and that they have some life after death, well, the same could be said for every mosquito. So every mosquito has a soul and has an afterlife. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like there's no evidence to back up these claims, I don't think. But yeah, if humans can have a soul, then so can a hamster, so can a pig, so can a rat, so can a mosquito, so can an amoeba. So this speciesism, like, oh, only humans have souls, and all these other animals stop existing after death. Well, I find that so speciesist, and I find no evidence to back that up.
Neither do I. I mean, I've said this before. I mean, I do think an afterlife is possible, but only in a physical sense. I don't believe it in any, Buddhist way or, heaven and hell. I don't believe in any of that. I just think law of conservation leaves a possibility open. It leaves open a possibility to life as another life form, doesn't it? Which means we won't get to keep our memories. We won't get a choice in the matter. If we do come back as something else, it'll be natural selection.
Yeah. So what about you, David? What do you think of that?
Well, I was just going to chime in and say, well, what if the universe is infinite, and at some point in the future, our combination of atoms that make up us, the molecules and atoms, what if at some point in the future they all come together exactly as they are now to produce another copy of us?
Well, that's a weird thing. I never heard that one. Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know how that would happen, but here's how I look at it: is I look at it as that the self is actually an illusion. Like realizing that the atoms that make us up, you know, like what we call us is really only our conscious experience that's going on now. but I realized that every cell of my body, every atom in my body had to have come from the original sperm and egg, which was produced by in the bodies of my parents, which had to have the energy in the food that they ate. And you know what I'm saying? It just goes back. And so really, like, there's nothing of my body that's actually something original to me that doesn't come from something else. I basically am what I eat today, you know?
I mean, you're only alive because you had enough nourishment. It's that simple, really.
Right. And so it's kind of weird. Like, take for example, like, you know, the plants and animals that we've eaten, because that's really everything you eat pretty much is either a plant or an animal that ate plants or whatever. And well, that's the thing about it. So, like, let's say that that the atoms of the you know, some plant or animal come back. Well, how do they come back unless they are removed from our bodies that contain the nutrients that were contained in those things? And so you have to realize that, like, if you eat an apple from an apple tree, that apple, some of the nutrients might have come from animals that died and decomposed, or they pooped and that decomposed. So you are basically eating some animals' poop even when you're eating an apple. You know, you know, it's really gross when you analyze it like that.
The water that we drink is from treated sewage, isn't it?
So when you think about how gross that is, you think, well, there's just no way to view anything as having a self that it completely belongs to that thing, but that's not part of something else. And so there's an idea of a oneness, like all is one, everything is part of one universe. So to a certain extent, I sort of see where George goes with his pantheism, you know, everything is the universe. I sort of get that, and it sort of sounds like, you know, what some Hindu religions believe, you know. But I'm not approaching it from a religion type thing. I'm just saying that everything is all interconnected, and that there's no real us. I don't think we'll ever have this exact same experience. Like, after we're dead, I don't think that there will ever be somebody else that's exactly like any of us, because I just don't see how that would happen.
I don't think that can happen either. I just think that if we do have an afterlife, if we do come back as a different physical life form, we'll have no say in it, and we won't remember. It will just be like, to us, like that future life that we'll have, if we have one, will be like the only life we've ever had, because we won't remember this one.
What if we're cloned? What if someone comes along and clones us? If we're cloned, say someone takes some of our DNA and they make another Chandler Klebs.
The world only needs one of me.
we can have a whole army of Chandler Klebs, but they would all be different, because there's no two environments that are technically the same. There's always going to be some difference. So when you get people saying, well, my brother was raised in the same household as me, but he turned out completely different, people will use that as an argument for free will. But in actual fact, no two environments are exactly the same. There's always going to be some minor difference that can have, you know, huge effects.
That's evidence against free will, because there's always going to be a slight variation, even in twins, and that's been proven, you know, over and over.
Yeah, it's really crazy, because no two people could have the exact same environment, because that means that they have to experience everything. So what that means is they would both have to be eating the exact same thing at every given time. They'd have to be talking to the same person at every single time. They'd have to both be playing chess at the exact same time, making the exact same moves at the exact same time. Like, every experience, even the minor details, do affect us, you know, and that's our experience. And so a slight change, like, let's say you have identical twins, but one of them is punched in the face and the other isn't. So you know that there's going to be a difference. They're not going to be the same, because they've had one's had an experience that the other hasn't had.
He's not going to feel the pain of his twin being punched in the face, is he? They're going to be completely separate entities.
Not unless he's standing directly behind him. That would be unfortunate.
Yeah, that would. But even genetically, doppelgangers are still different. Otherwise, you know, taking DNA samples at a crime scene wouldn't work very well if a twin of someone got convicted for a crime that his twin committed from some botched investigation, and they got a blood test wrong or whatever.
Yeah, but that's crazy, man. But anyway, like seriously, like, so I don't know how anybody could believe in free will because there's no way to think that somebody rose above their biology and environment and made a choice completely independently of those. But so here's the thing: why do people have this separate category for humans, though? Do you suppose it's just religion?
I think religion is part of it, but there's another motive behind this belief in free will that I believe to be the case. It's because there are some people who are too afraid to let go of it. They're afraid that if we let go of this belief in free will, then it will just give, like, you know, bad people an excuse to do what they want. But that's a false belief, because we'll still have our rules. Like George Ortega said, we'll still have our laws. And, you know, criminals will not be allowed to, you know, go around terrorizing, you know, raping, murdering, whatever, because that kind of behavior just doesn't benefit society as a whole.
Yeah, and you know, the bad things that are happening even now, well, a lot of people believe in free will, but that's not stopping the crimes that do occur. So I say it can't really be any worse.
It can't be, no. And by understanding that free will is an illusion, we can actually progress neuroscience even further, and maybe one day find a cure for certain psychopathy illnesses that lead to these sort of crimes.
Yeah, I mean, I actually read the other day that there is a study that showed that empathy can be taught to kids even when they're having developmental problems. So
Yeah.
as long as the parents are quite empathetic themselves, then
Yeah.
that can be passed on to their kids.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible. Even for a psychopath is still going to be someone who's influenced by their environment.
Of course, yeah. I mean, they still adapt. They're still like any other living organism. They're going to adapt to their environment. It's just the way genetics work. So, using this logic, like you're saying, we should use this to teach kids with developmental problems not to do certain things when they're older. You know, don't hurt animals or don't hurt people. You know.
Right?
Yeah.
In relation to the question about animals versus humans and free will, I've had it put to me that humans are different because we have the ability to kind of think ahead and plan ahead. Have you ever had that argument put to you guys? Or?
I've read that before, but I don't know where people are getting that. You know what I mean? I don't see how you can say that other animals aren't planning ahead.
We've been cultured with this idea that human beings, because we see ourselves as more intelligent than other animal species, we've been brainwashed into believing that we're, you know, the superior race. We're above animals and stuff, and that's all perception, really, isn't it? That's just perception.
I mean, of course, humans are going to say that they're the most intelligent species,
Yeah.
but if you know, if the chimpanzees or the zebras or hippopotamuses were writing the books, well, they would be claiming that that they're the most intelligent species. So
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not just with intelligence. It's also society has been. A lot of people are indoctrinated with this idea that humans are the dominant race and all this stuff. That's all perception, because ultimately you can't win against nature. Eventually we're all going to die, you know, of old age, or something else will come along and kill us eventually, whether it be a disease or whatever. So no one's really a dominant race, are they?
I was going to say that animals could actually be considered a little bit smarter than humans, because if you get a lot of humans somewhere, we tend to kind of destroy something. You know, we destroy our environment, we pollute, we create toxins. Whereas if you use just the example of animals, then they kind of find some kind of equilibrium, don't they? They don't go around and destroy everything.
Yeah, and that's especially the case with like other primates, like gorillas. Gorillas are known as the gentle giant. In other words, they try to avoid confrontation, and most of the time they just spend their days protecting their young and eating plants and stuff like that. They're very social animals, gorillas.
And that's the thing, is that, most animals don't cause as much harm as humans do.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
they don't put like pollution into the atmosphere. They don't create nuclear decay and all that stuff, do they?
Unless you're talking about mass-produced animals like cows and pigs and stuff like that.
right.
They create a lot of pollution, but that's due to the product of humans.
Exactly, because humans are producing them and artificially inseminating them and making them reproduce more than they even would without human intervention. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And guys, this is why there's a lot of people who want the human race to go extinct. Have you heard of that?
Yeah. And they've also been genetically modifying some of our what's it called, the vegetation supplies as well. I mean, there's been a controversy over that, like where people have been asking whether that's safe to eat or not. Genetically modified cabbages or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Because I just don't trust humans to know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard stuff about that, haven't you, David Joseph, about genetically modified, plantation.
Yeah, I've heard things about it. I mean, I know it's possible that some studies have been done where mothers have been fed strawberries or pills that are strawberry flavored, and it actually comes out in their breast milk. And you can tell that it's strawberry flavored, and it happens within minutes. It goes through the system within minutes. So I can imagine with anything that's been tampered with, any kind of food stuff that's not been completely tested, how quickly that could get into the food supply, cause problems.
Yeah. And there's also chemicals that they put in our water supply, like fluoride in there.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, people don't think about what all these little chemicals do to people.
Yeah. And it's some chemicals can actually do us some harm as well. So I mean, I think the safest way they can actually sterilize our water once it's filtered out the sewage and all that stuff is to use UV radiation, which is what they do in the United States, isn't it? In the USA, in their treatment centers, they use UV radiation to kill all the bacteria that's in the water and stuff.
Yeah, and what really scares me, guys, is that we can't really do much about the pollution that's in our food. That kind of scares me because, well, if you live in a city, you're not allowed to grow your own food. Like, well, I can't. I mean, we don't have land. We don't even have a yard. And so whatever the farmers are doing to whatever food at the grocery store, well, if they poison me, there's nothing I can do about it, and that scares me. Yeah.
You got anything else to say, Chandler? Because we are in a podcast.
Yeah, let's see. Well, this whole thing about, how people act like humans are different than other animals. Well, this is very big because, when people who are against killing of animals and eating their meat, like I am, well, here's the problem. Here's what you commonly hear is they say, oh, well, only human life matters because humans are made in the image of God, but these other animals, they exist so that we can eat them. And I'm like, well, why not just say that other humans exist so that you can eat them? It's the same thing.
But there is no superior race because, like I said, none of us is indestructible.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, we all have the same end, so it's not like any race wins over any other race. And
sure of that, yeah, exactly.
And you know what? Humans are gonna go extinct just like every other species, because as soon as the environment changes to a certain extent, which probably will happen with climate change, well, then any species that can't adapt to that change just dies out.
Yeah. Well, when the sun gets too hot for us, we're all gonna die anyway. I mean, unless we move off this planet,
Yeah.
you know, we're,
Just think about it, guys. We're like dinosaurs. And what I mean is, like, you know, in millions of years from now, people will probably tell stories about the humans that lived millions of years ago, but then they died out because they polluted their environment until it got too hot and they all died. And then, you know, who knows what will happen after that? You know, and we won't be around to hear those stories, but I kind of wish we could.
yeah. Or in a distant future, we wiped ourselves out over a nuclear warfare and stuff because you know the wrong people get into power.
Yeah, I mean, and that could happen.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm going to start digging my bunker right now. You guys have made me paranoid.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, David. We're kind of like that. We're like I seriously think humanity is doomed. 'Cause-
well, in one way or another, yes, because there's going to be something that will get us eventually, man. There's no way around it. The universe will end one day, and nothing will be able to survive that. Absolutely nothing. You know.
well, now here's the way I look at it, Jamie. I don't think that the universe as a whole will end. I mean, because I don't think it will stop existing. What I do think, though, is that life on planets like ours will go extinct because of like so all it would take is for like the sun to explode or you know burn out, and so there's no heat provided to the planet anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Though stars burning out. I mean, once all the stars in the universe go, how are you going to survive then? You know, you're screwed either way. You know.
We go to the next universe.
Yeah, if you can get there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I guess that will be the end, and I don't know if that will happen in our lifetime or some other time. But yeah, you know, yeah, like everybody alive today will probably be dead in 100 years. You know, because people, you know, some people live over 100, but most people die within 100 years. Um, and so, and just think about it, all the people that ever existed, you know, thousands, millions, billions of years ago, every animal, just think about them being gone. That's freaky.
Yeah. I mean, dinosaurs didn't develop nuclear weapons, but then again, they weren't given much time to evolve, so they wouldn't have had a lot of time to become that intelligent anyway.
Yeah, and you know what? Seriously, a lot of animals, they're not capable of doing the kind of harm humans can do. Like seriously, like think
Yes.
about like I mean, do you think squirrels make these huge governments and develop nuclear weapons and go to war against other squirrel nations? I mean,
No, but there could be some other species out in there in the universe that are just like us. You know, they probably have their own societies and civilizations. You know.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I think there probably is, you know, other types of life on other planets because there's just got to be so many planets out there. And if life could happen here, then I see no reason for saying that it couldn't happen somewhere else. So yeah,
Well,
that.
not just religious believers, right? But other people tend to push this idea that we're the only intelligent race in the universe, and we're not. I mean, there could be. That's just an assumption. I mean, there's how many planets are out there, for goodness sake? Yeah. In
Yeah,
our own galaxy.
yeah, more than we can count, you know. So, I mean, how do you really know? Like how do you know that there isn't some kind of animal that lives on the moon? You don't know that. Like you know, what if there's something that lives on various planets, even within our solar system, but it lives underground so that you don't see it? Like so, even when they send machines there to inspect the area, they don't see all the life that's there. And people, and you know, humans are still exploring new areas on this planet. So of
I
course
think I think I know what you're getting at. I mean, there's been hypotheses about life being on Europa, Jupiter's moon,
yeah.
because it's, volcanic activity within the core of that moon in there, David.
I think so. That's the one that's covered in ice as well, I think, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
something
But it's
like that,
supposed to have, yeah, but it's supposed to have like a liquid interior. Yeah.
Right, yeah. They think maybe under the ice there's water, and in that water there might be some kind of oceanic life.
Yeah, feeding off the energy that's within the core, and it's all being powered by the tidal forces, because Jupiter's gravity is quite strong.
Yeah, and here's the deal: is what I think will happen, guys, is I think that more and more people are going to start waking up to the reality that humans are not some kind of a separate thing from the whole rest of the universe. That we're really just like these other animals, and that there are probably life forms that are similar to humans even elsewhere on other planets that we may not know about it, but they might be light years away, so we might never be able to contact them. But seriously, I see no reason to say that it's not possible.
But as far as we know, humans are the only species in the universe that have ever created war.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose there might be wars of some other types of animals, but I don't think they're the kind of wars humans have. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah, go on.
I was
Yeah,
going to say they definitely don't indoctrinate their young, and kind of make them join a big army, put them in a uniform, make them look like each other, and then fight each other that they don't know.
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the fighting that happens in the animal kingdom is over food.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, people often use the excuse of survival of the fittest, but that was a phrase that was actually coined by a politician called Herbert Spencer, I think it was. And really, it's a natural selection thing. There's a good story about a group of bonobos, and they were searching for food, and they were observing these bonobos, and the top of the hierarchy, the males, were often the ones to eat first. And these bonobos were going into towns and basically digging through garbage to get meat that had been discarded. And then one day, these bonobos got some tainted meat, and of course, the males that were higher up the hierarchy, they ate first, they got sick, and they died. And that meant that the more relaxed and laid-back males then took over the group. And what they noticed was a complete change in the group, that any dominant male that tried to come and enter the group was quickly ostracized by the rest of the group. So in order to make their way into that group, they actually had to be more laid back and more cooperative with the others. So it completely changed the entire hierarchy. So it's not survival of the fittest, it's just natural selection.
wow, that's pretty interesting because I want the same thing to happen to humans.
Yeah.
You have to change the environment to change the behaviour.
Well, it goes back to my point that this whole idea of a superior race is all perception, isn't it? I mean, there is no superior race because we all meet the same end eventually. It's just nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really good, guys. Yeah, this whole idea about human exceptionalism has got to go, and I think it will go, and I think that this free will belief is part of that. I think that this belief that humans have a thing called a free will, I mean, that all the evidence is against that, and once that's gone, well, humans will completely lose their feeling of being superior to these other animals. And when that happens, I think people will treat the other animals better, and they'll probably stop eating them.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, it'll be more compassionate.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been talking for about a half an hour, so perhaps I should end it.
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Hey, you've been listening to Free Will, Science, and Religion. This has been Chandler Klebs with David Joseph and Jamie Soden, and we had a lot of talk about life on other planets and about humans related to other animals and tying it into the whole free will belief, how humans think they have a free will even though no other animal does. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and let us know what you think. Bye for now.